and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 416, and today's date is July 15th, 2014, and the title of this episode is FEMA Preparing for Martial Law Over the Mass Exodus of Illegal Aliens, and we're going to get into this a little bit later in this report, but let's go right to Cyprus here. And we know that Cyprus last year, about 16 months ago, had bail-ins, they also had a bailout, and everything was put under capital controls where people couldn't get to their money. They went to sleep Friday night, they woke up Saturday morning, everything was frozen, they didn't have access to their money, and of course the government lied to them at that point where they said they were only going to take 6, 8, 10, 15, and they actually ended up taking about roughly 47% of their money, and they replaced their money with worthless bank stock. And today, after all of this, after all the bail-ins, all the bailouts, what are we seeing in Cyprus right now? Well, we're seeing that the Bank of Cyprus still has a mountain of bad loans. A staggering 55% of the bank's loan portfolio is delinquent, and now they're having to sell stock in order to raise an additional billion euros in capital. So anywhere the central bankers touch, any country they go into, it seems they just make it worse and worse and worse. You know why? Because they're just piling on debt onto the country. When you have austerity and you have the population losing jobs and they can't find jobs and they can't bring revenue in and the government continually takes on more and more debt, the system cannot be sustained. Greece, we've seen this, 3 tranches of bailouts, and where are they? Now they're making deals with China. They signed about 19 deals with them because they realize if they continue working with the IMF, they're going to be, the whole entire country would completely collapse upon itself. So they needed a way to bring in revenue. They needed to make deals outside of the private Western central banking system, and this is exactly what they're doing. Now, in the UK, what we're seeing is that retail sales growth slows sharply in June. And we can see right now that different parts of the Eurozone and other countries are starting to feel the effects of what is coming. Now, every single country doesn't feel it the same exact way. Greece, Cyprus, France, Portugal, Italy, Spain, they really felt it hard. Germany's starting to feel it. UK is starting to feel it. And of course, what we're seeing right now is that the private Western central banking system is completely falling apart. Countries are collapsing. We're not even in a recession at this point. We're headed towards a depression. Eurozone is in a depression. They know it. They have negative interest rates. It makes no sense to keep your money in the bank at this time. And we can see they don't want people to wake up. And this is why they continually smack gold down, because this is an indicator that something is going on. And if gold started to rise to 15, 16, 1700, people would say, something very interesting. Is the dollar being devalued that much that gold is rising? Maybe we should check into this. And they don't want that to happen. And what happened today was, as always, gold was smacked down, and it looks like there were about 17,000 contracts sold. Boom, bringing that the amount of gold way down under $1,300. So people look at it and say, oh, see, nothing's going on here. The dollar's fine. Everything's fine around the world. Now, it seems that the June retail sales have pretty much missed their expectations. They were expected to be about 0.6%. They came in around 0.2%. Now, this is pretty darn bad, because if we look at what's going on here, and we look at the sales, now if we go back to March of this year, 2014, we see sales were about 1.5%. Since that time period, sales have been coming steadily down. And we know what happened in March. People dipped into their savings. They went to their credit cards because they needed to purchase what they needed to purchase just to get by. Since that time in March, we were at 1.5%. All of a sudden, in April, it dropped to 0.5%. Then, in May, it came down to 0.3%. Then, in June, we're down to 0.2%. So we can see we're in this downward trend of retail sales. And we're seeing the same thing happening in real estate. We're also seeing layoffs ramping up right now. The Air Force is laying off about 3,459 positions. We see KGB USA Inc. laying off 225 positions, and Microsoft is going to cut 6,000 jobs. I mean, look what's been happening since the beginning of the year. Dell, what was that, 15,000 jobs. Sony, another 10,000 jobs. We're looking at Barclays, 13 to 16,000 jobs. RBS, the same thing. And we can go down the line. If we look from the end of 2013 to the beginning of 2014, we have a mass amount of layoffs. And when we come into this fall, we know there are going to be many, many more. This is when companies normally do mass layoffs, usually in the fall time period and early spring time period, and we're going to see some mass layoffs coming during this fall. Now, it looks like the BRICS have announced that they've created and developed the World Central Bank, and Putin explains what they did here. A system of measures that would help prevent the harassment of countries that do not agree with some foreign policy decisions made by the United States and their allies. Initial capital for the BRICS Bank will be $50 billion, paid in equal shares among the 5 members, with a contingent reserve of up to $100 billion, and will see India as the first president. The BRICS Bank will be based in Shanghai and chaired by Russia. Simply put, when you see this happening, you know the dollar is doomed. So they are hedging their bet. They are protecting themselves. They are looking to ward off what is happening in the Western world, and you see they are pushing this agenda forward. They are not stopping. They realize the dollar is doomed, and pretty much all countries are starting to realize this, and this is why they're making deals all across the world. I mean, we see countries making deals with Russia, they're making deals with China, and this is continually ongoing as time goes on. Now, we understand the U.S. government would love to declare martial law. They would love to take more of the rights. Actually, they'd love to get rid of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. That's standing in their way. They would love to disarm the American people. Nothing more. They're more afraid of Americans with weapons than pretty much anything else. And they're trying to implement all these laws. This is why we see thousands upon thousands of laws, and they're continually creating them because they know they can't get rid of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights no matter how hard they try. So what they do is they continually create these laws to say, oh, you can't do this, oh, you can't do that, because they're trying to maneuver a way around the Bill of Rights, and they're trying to access and get rid of it somehow, some way. And here's another law, and I mentioned this once before, but I need to mention this once again because it's just amazing to me what they're trying to do here. The California State Senate sees their share of interesting and controversial legislation proposals. One of the most recent bills, Assembly Bill number 1014, is one which, if passed, would permit the secret seizure of California state residents' guns after just one complaint that they pose a risk of committing an act of violence. If no crime had been committed, the bill states that it would permit a court to issue an ex parte gun violence restraining order, along with a firearm seizure warrant based solely on the reckless use, display, or brandishing of firearms, or on the recent acquisition of firearms or other deadly weapons. According to the bill, the petition for restraining order on ownership of firearms can be filed by an immediate family member, a licensed therapist, a licensed healthcare provider, and any individual who knowingly files a false petition with the intent to harass will be guilty of a misdemeanor. So if you try to report something, you'll be charged with a misdemeanor. So you can have tons of people out there, and they have to prove that, first of all, that you knowingly filed a false petition, because that is so easy to fight. But anyhow, what they're trying to say is one complaint, they can take your weapon away. They are saying that we don't care about the Second Amendment. We don't care about your rights. We are creating laws to take away your rights, and we can see this completely with this bill that they're trying to pass. Now, it looks like Obama, because of what's going on the border, he is trying, and his attorneys are trying, to examine all different ways that he can use executive action to pretty much bypass Congress completely. And they're looking into it, trying to figure out what they can possibly do. And right now it looks like, and this is also coming from Cujo, who's on the People, he said he's had contacts with other Army members, and we can see right now that representatives of the United Nations High Commissions for Refugees, or UNHRC, are intensely discussing in meetings the possibility of extending UN protection to thousands of Central Americans crossing the U.S. border with Mexico illegally by defining them as refugees who are seeking asylum from political and domestic violence in their home nations. Officials privy to the UN discussions have explained because the Central American immigrants are not part of any group, the UN has designated these victims as political or religious being persecuted. So we can see that we might see the UN actually come into the U.S. And it looks like they're looking and weighing their options at this time, and we're getting other information in from other sources confirming this. Now, it looks like there has been some leaked intel reporting, and it seems like an elite law enforcement sensitive El Paso Intelligence Center EPIC intel report from July 7, 2014 was leaked and reveals that homicide rates in Central America suggest violence is likely not the primary cause of the surge of thousands of unaccompanied minors and incomplete family units illegally entering the United States. The EPIC report indicates that the belief among the illegal immigrants that they would receive permission and be allowed to stay was the driving factor in their choices to come to the United States. The report also states that the migrants cited Univision and other outlets as having shaped their views on U.S. immigration policy. Another implication of the report is that family members already in the U.S. are encouraging the minors to come and organizing the travel with smugglers. In late May, the U.S. Border Patrol interviewed unaccompanied children and migrant families apprehended in the Rio Grande Valley. Of the 230 total migrants interviewed, 219 cited the primary reason for migrating to the United States was the perception of the U.S. immigration laws granting free passes or permission to UAC and adult female OTMs traveling with minors. Migrants indicated that knowledge of permissions was widespread across Central America due to word-of-mouth, local and international media messaging, prompting many to depart for the United States within 30 days of becoming aware of these perceived benefits, according to the same reporting. So what we can see right now is that this was advertised in Central America on purpose to bring these people up here. And we've mentioned this before, and now we can see with these leaked documents that, yes, this was planned. The train is owned by a Kansas City corporation. They're using it to transport all these illegals through Mexico with the permission of the Mexican government to come through. They're also paying off these criminal syndicates to bring them across. And, of course, who's paying these people? But, again, this could be all part of the plan, and they're all bringing them up to the border and having them cross over, and with that law that allows them to enter the country and cannot be deported, they would need to see an immigration judge first. The Obama administration knew all of this, and they're allowing this to happen. Right now, it looks like Senator Jeff Sessions has warned all of his colleagues in Congress that President Barack Obama's new immigration strategy, his plans to legalize millions of illegal aliens, adults, through executive power, could destroy America as we know it. A right to inform you of development that threatens the foundation of our constitutional republic, Sessions said. So we can see right now Congress is worried about what is going on here. These illegal aliens are being moved to all the different cities all around the country right now, and they're expecting more and more to come up. But what's very interesting, according to Rex 84, FEMA's blueprint for martial law in America, if the American people took to the streets in righteous indignation, or if there were another 9/11, a mechanism for martial law could be quickly implemented and carried out under Rex 84. The Cheney-Bush administration has a plan which would accommodate the detention of large numbers of American citizens during times of emergency. The plan is called Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984. Through Rex 84, an undisclosed number of concentration camps were set in operation throughout the United States for internment of dissidents and other potentially harmful to the state. The Rex 84 program was originally established on the reasoning that if a mass exodus of illegal aliens crossed the Mexican-U.S. border, they would be quickly rounded up and detained in detention centers by FEMA. These camps are to be operated by FEMA should martial law need to be implemented in the United States. All it would take is a presidential signature on a proclamation and the Attorney General's signature on a warrant to which a list of names is attached. So we can see that this was established just in case there were people coming across the border in mass exodus that they might have to use these FEMA camps and declare martial law. So we can see the real purpose of FEMA is not only to protect the government, but to be principal vehicle for martial law. There are over 800 prison camps in the United States, all fully operational and ready to receive prisoners. They are all staffed and even surrounded by full-time guards, but they are all completely empty at this time. These camps are to be operated by FEMA should martial law need to be implemented in the United States. So this was really created just in case there were illegals coming across the border and it got out of control and the president had to declare martial law because things started to go wrong inside the country. And we're seeing the start of this. We're seeing that he's using this to move different agendas forward. One, the immigration bill. Two, to place these people on Obamacare, use subsidiaries to boost up Obamacare. 3, to bring other family members up, put them on work permits. 4, to blur the borders between Central and South America with North America and make it all one region. And we can see right now that they're trying to bring as many as they possibly can because we know what the president wants to do. They've been trying it for a very long time. They're trying to disarm the people. They're putting people into fenced-in areas to talk freely, which is the free speech zones. They also already told us there's a 100-mile constitutional free zone. Now, all this doesn't exist. I mean, yes, in the minds of the government it does exist because they're out there saying it, but under the Constitution, the law of the laws of the land, this does not exist. But if the people believe that it exists, then it will exist. And you can see right now what they're trying to do. He would like to have complete control of the U.S. and pretty much get rid of the Constitution and suspend it. And it seems like they are really moving the agenda. Now, the question is, why are they pushing this so hard? I mean, think about what we're seeing. And this has just been in the last couple of months, right? We see Ukraine completely out of control. They're provoking Russia. We see the Middle East. All of a sudden, Assad had an election. He was voted in. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, ISIL emerged, and we knew it wasn't out of nowhere because we understand, and I reported on this many, many times, that they were training these people in Jordan in secret bases. They were training them for a specific reason. They were providing them weapons, and we see ISIL, it's all the same, the Islamic State, move into Iraq, and then all of a sudden say they're going to be attacking pretty much everything. And you can see right now they want chaos all throughout the region. And then here in the United States, what do we see? Well, we are seeing the government officials telling us that this is a new terrorist group. We could see terror. They're inside the country. You don't know where they are. The borders are wide open. Terrorists could be coming in. They could be bringing these weapons. They could be bringing bombs. We have no idea. Drug cartels are coming in. Criminal elements are coming through because there's no one guarding the borders. And all of a sudden now we see Rex 84 being used right now to declare martial law because everything is going crazy. So if we do see some type of an event, we know for sure the president's going to say, okay, lights out in all these cities, illegals running everywhere, we don't know where the terrorists are, we're going to have to declare martial law, suspend the Constitution, and we can see we are definitely headed in this direction. And we can see this is all being laid out and planned step by step. Now, if we go out to across the ocean here, the Atlantic Ocean, and we go to Greece right now, what are we seeing there? Well, we understand that Greece is in a huge amount of debt. Their country is completely suffering. And right now, Crete could serve as a regional node for the support, maintenance, and repair of the Chinese Navy, and possibility exists for joint naval operations between Greece and China's People Liberation Army. And this is coming from the Prime Minister of Greece and China. On Crete, there is all the appropriate infrastructure for refueling, maintenance, and repairs for all of the country's Navy units. So we can see right now they've made about 19 deals with China right now. Now they're looking to bring and pretty much, allow the Chinese Navy warships to refuel in this area. So you can see right now Greece is moving towards China. They're making deals. They need to come out of this economic collapse that they're in, and they're doing everything they possibly can. Now, it's not only this country, it's many of these countries are starting to make other deals because they see what's happening throughout the private Western Central Bank world, and they're very nervous about what is coming. Now, it just seems that now America, the central bankers, have just made the biggest arms sales of 2014. Who did they sell this to? Qatar. Qatar is purchasing about $11 billion in Patriot missile batteries and Apache attack helicopters from the United States. It's the single largest single sale of U.S. weaponry in 2014, and this country is right off the on the coast, off of Saudi Arabia. It is tiny. It's about 278,000 citizens, and we just made an $11 billion sale to them because they need all this weaponry. Well, I think the United States central bankers are definitely preparing for something. They're getting ready to do something. And this is what some of the things they sold. 247 PAC-3 missiles, 117 GEM-T missiles, 24 Apache helicopters, 500 Javelin anti-tank missiles. Major contractors are Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Boeing. And there's many radar systems. There are many other things that they're purchasing. And we can see right now that Qatar is home of the U.S. air base there. It's the most important U.S. military installation in the Middle East. So they know something is really about to break open wide here, and they know something is about to happen. And they're prepping for this, just like they're prepping all around the world. They're prepping out in the Pacific. They're prepping in Eastern Europe with Russia. They're prepping in the Middle East because they realize this is going to be all-out World War III, and you can see this is exactly what they're getting ready to do. Now, China is out there saying, and they're warning the U.S. to stay out of the South China Sea dispute. And of course, instead of the U.S. staying out and minding their own business, the U.S. pretty much, the central bankers don't do this. And the U.S. went in to the area, unleashing more military forces in China's backyard, and is developing new military tactics to deter China's slow but steady territorial advances in the South China Sea, including more aggressive use of surveillance aircraft and naval operations near contested areas. And China is very clear about this, and we know that United States, John Kerry, Secretary of State, met with the leaders of China. They talked about it, and the Chinese president was out there saying, yes, we need cooperation, but let's not go too crazy here because this would be a disaster for the world. And again, the United States central bankers don't care about this. They realize that the U.S. dollar is collapsing. They will not allow any other country to be the reserve currency. They'd rather go down kicking and screaming and yelling and start World War III before they allow any country to become the reserve currency. And again, in their minds, they do believe that after this great war, they're going to emerge from their bunkers and say, okay, let's start this system over again. All right, we reduce the population. We can start the system over. Everyone needs to rebuild. Let's start printing money, and they can start the entire system, and maybe this time they'll do it without the Constitution. Now, it looks like Russia is calling um, the EU's bluff at this time. It looks like France, Germany, Luxembourg, Austria, Bulgaria, Greece, Cyprus, Slovenia is saying that they are not going to impose any more sanctions on Russia. And of course, the United States central bankers want to impose more sanctions on Russia, and they're saying that they're not going to do it to any sector of Russia right at this time. And it does take all 28 EU members to unanimously vote in favor of this. And if any one of them objects, then there are no sanctions. And they understand that if they place these sanctions on Russia in certain sectors, it would have a boomerang effect on the EU and in the United States. But again, the central bankers don't care about this because they are going to wage war. And it really doesn't matter to them at this time. Now, Russia is inviting attaches from 18 countries to assess the situation in the Donetsk-Rostov region with the shelling that was hitting these homes in Russia, and they want these countries to come in. And it looks like 7 foreign attaches refuse to travel to Russia, but many of them are China, Spain, U.S., Finland, Norway, Italy, Denmark, India, Germany, Sweden, and France. They're all coming. The ones that aren't are Ukraine, Belgium, Japan, South Korea, the Netherlands, Switzerland, and Austria. They decided they didn't want to make the journey there for whatever reasons. But they're coming there to take a look, to assess the situation and see what is happening in that area. Now, it looks like Russia is getting ready to evacuate its citizens from the Gaza Strip. Russia diplomats in the Gaza Strip are preparing lists of the Russians who would like to leave the region because of the security situation. The requests have been of varying nature, he said. Some are very fearful of their own safety and want to be removed as soon as possible. Others say, well, we're waiting to see how this turns out, and if we need to be evacuated, we'll let you know, and they're waiting to see. Now, it looks like there was a ceasefire, and Egypt proposed the ceasefire, and the problem is that it was one-sided. And we saw this happen in Ukraine, where Poroshenko came out and said, okay, here is a ceasefire, and all you need to do is lay down your weapons and surrender. And it seems like Israel was doing the same thing, except they were looking at Egypt, and Egypt, which is now backed again by the United States government central bankers, they're in their pocket again. And it seems like right now this whole ceasefire is off, and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is calling on Hamas to accept Egypt's ceasefire proposal. And Hamas is out there, and they are saying that they rejected the ceasefire arrangement. Abbas welcomed the Egyptian proposal, but Zukri, the spokesman of Hamas political wing, said Hamas opposed ceasing the fire without reaching an agreement on the terms of a truce first. The proposal isn't worth the ink that it's wrote on, adding that no one had bothered to contact the resistance in this alleged initiative. Because we were excluded from the consultations of this truce initiative, we are not obliged to abide by it. And also the truce was like, get rid of all your missiles, and we'll go back to the way it was. And of course, Hamas is saying if we get rid of our weapons, Israel is just going to come in and demolish the entire area. And right now we can see this is the same thing that's happening in Ukraine, the same type of thing where Poroshenko was out there saying, okay, here's the ceasefire, lay down your weapons, do what we want, and we will arrest those people. We will also kill those who we don't want to be in power anymore, and you will be in the fold of the puppet regime. And it seems like the same thing's happening again here in the Gaza Strip. And we have to remember, this all goes back to these 3 teens that were killed, and out of the Times of Israel, they were reporting that Hamas had absolutely nothing to do with this. It didn't even happen in the Gaza Strip, and we have to remember, the first one to shoot was Israel. So when we're looking at this entire thing, it seems like this whole thing is one-sided once again. And right now, 80% of the fatalities in Gaza are civilians. Some 1,255 homes were destroyed or severely damaged in Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have fled their homes following Israel's warnings, and 17,000 have taken shelter. Now, there is a Israeli expert out there, and he is saying that the Iron Dome defense is a complete hoax. An Israeli scientist and award-winning security expert has called the Iron Dome missile defense system the biggest hoax the world has seen. According to Dr. Mati Sheffer, today there is no missile which can intercept other missiles or rocket-propelled grenades, and the Iron Dome is a light audio system which blocks Israel's public opinion and, of course, itself. In fact, all the explosions we have seen in the atmosphere are self-destruction. The Iron Dome did not launch any rocket that could intercept at least one missile fired from Gaza. Sheffer added that the concept of open areas is a myth created to amplify the Iron Dome's ability as a missile interceptor. He made an indirect accusation against the Dome's operating staff of misleading the public. The missiles which were intercepted by the Iron Dome and did not reach the ground are hypothetical missiles produced and destroyed in the Dome's computer control room. As of this moment, nobody has seen an intercepted missile fall to the ground. And this is coming from Dr. Mati Sheffer. He is an Israeli expert scientist, and he is out there saying this whole dome is a complete hoax. Now, it looks like Israel decided to strike into Syria. Israeli warplanes have targeted 3 administrative and military centers in the Syrian Golan Heights region, killing at least 4 people and injuring several others. Now, we saw Israel also fly into Syria and bomb military assets, because you have to realize the United States, Israel, the central bankers, they all have the same goals, and many other Arab nations all have the same goal. They want to get into Syria. And you can see by pushing this chaos within the Middle East, having what's going on in Gaza, linking it to Iran, we can see they are trying to push this agenda forward. Now, out in Libya, this is not getting a lot of media representation whatsoever. 90% of the aircraft destroyed at the airport in Tripoli, and we can see right now the airport is shut down. People who wanted to get out are pretty much stuck inside Libya. It looks like the puppet regime in Libya is falling, and the people of Libya are taking back their country. And we can see right now Libya has suspended all flights to and from its third city, Misrata, which is tied to Tripoli Airport for its operations. And Kerry is out there, and he is saying that the people in Libya, they need to halt the violence in Libya. They need to stop, because if they don't stop, we're going to lose the dollar and the private Western Central Bank in this country, and they might start selling oil, not using the dollar. And right now the Libyan government is making an international call out to international forces to come and assist them. So now we have to see if the United States, of course, as we know, they're right in that region because of what's happening in Iraq. We have to see if NATO and the United States decide to go into Libya and help out there too, because we can see what's happening. Everything is starting to completely collapse in the Middle East. There's chaos everywhere, and this is why they've pushed the Islamic State, because they realized they couldn't hold off these tribes anymore in most of these countries. In Yemen, in Lebanon, in Libya, they're trying to link them all together. The Islamic State is the new bad boy on the block. This is the group that's going to rain terror down on the United States. We know exactly who to blame when they say, let's go to war. And what's very interesting is that the Pentagon is out there, and they're saying that the U.S. military teams have completed an assessment of Iraqi security forces, and the assessment warned that any American troops serving as advisors would face safety risks given infiltration of the Iraqi army. And they're saying that a lot of these people inside the Iraqi army are defecting. They don't know who's with what side, and it's getting very, very confusing because of the uprising inside of Iraq. It's not just the Islamic State stayed in there. The other people, the other tribes inside Iraq are fighting and trying to take over the country, and a lot of the personnel in the military are defecting over to the tribes. The same thing was happening in Libya and in Yemen, and it is spreading all over the place here. Now, in here in the United States, we understand that we have the alert system, and this is designed for each local area to warn us about, storms coming or if there is an emergency, but it's not controlled by the federal government. And what's very interesting at this point, because we know a false flag event is going to occur, and we know it has to be widespread to hit pretty much most of the country, because they need to have everyone in on this and say, oh my God, the economy came down, they blacked out the lights, and they need all the Americans to come together at once to say, let's go to war and fight in this great war. So what the president, the Obama administration, is looking to do is to have one type of an emergency system. A new alert system gives President special code for emergency messages. The Federal Communications Commission is looking to overhaul the emergency alert system so the president can speak to the country at the flip of a switch in the event of a nationwide emergency. The system is not capable of reaching the entire country all at once should the president need to warn the public of something like a terrorist attack or an act of war against the country. So they are implementing right now where the president can throw a switch. It will be on every television, every radio, every news media at the same exact time. Are they planning something? Yes, they are. This is going to be coming very, very soon. We can see all of the pieces now are being put together, and now with this emergency broadcast system to warn the American people that yes, this was a terrorist attack. They are the ones who blacked out our cities. They are the ones who brought down the economy by hitting our financial institutions and our banks. We understand who this group is. We realize where it's originating from, and we need Congress to act, and you can see how this is all playing out right now. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.